Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and More Wild. Today it's time to talk dual blades in Title Update 2.5, aka the August update. Things are pretty good for us as we get extra buffs on top of the Title Update buffs, which were already insane. But obviously with the new talismans, it does affect what is possible for us. So I've got two kind of different sets for you. An all element build for 4 elements, but one focused on thunder with the special Legaicrus weapons, of course. Then just a fun talk about Bubble Blight and the details of that. Before we get into anything though, as usual, I need to give Josh his valid credit. He's the one that puts in the time to consider the builds and the math behind it, but also with this update, understanding the talismans, what's possible, what's reasonable, that allows us to change up the builds in this way. I'd also like to thank the data miner behind this information, so we can even consider all of that. So thank you to DTL Nor for his work with the talismans, like now and also back in Rise. So, we have a few changes for dual blades in Title Update 2.5. The most impactful one that you'll immediately notice is the new focus strike option for turning tide, the new tide drill, which allows you to basically press the focus strike button again while you're doing it, and instead of going down the spine, you land wherever you hit with that wound. So, if you want to stay at the head where you actually initiate the focus strike, you can. In the case of seregios here, I'm staying at the legs, which is the optimal hit zone. So this is fantastic. It also means I can smoothly transition into Blade Dance 1 immediately on this knockdown, actually having the time to get through to 2 and then 3 because of that. Whereas before, I'd land awkwardly at the tail or something, have to run around, and then maybe miss my window. Also, they've given us more movement speed during Demon Mode. Cool. They've increased the effect duration triggered by Perfect Evade while in Demon Boost mode. This basically means if you're currently in Demon Boost mode and you land another Perfect Evade, you get to extend the Demon Boost mode a little bit longer. To me, that was definitely not necessary, but I'll take it. On top of that, the window for successful Perfect Evades has been slightly extended or increased. I kind of compare this to like one free extra level of evade window, making the baseline of the Perfect Evade a bit easier. With that in mind, we don't have any evade window in our builds today. So here's a little warning for you. You need to eat for evade window. The tumbler meal is going to give you essentially 2 levels of evade window, and if you eat a feast, you're going to get the high version, which will give you 3 levels of evade window. And since we basically get given one with this update, that will put you towards 4, which is super forgiving. Right, let's crack on. We have a lot to talk about, so I'm going to be trying to be efficient about it. We're going to start with the weapons of choice. So yes, I have the thunder set, the other element set, and then the Bubble Blight set. For the Thunder set, you're actually going to be using the Seregios dual blades as I highlighted. This is because they come with great base raw, solid thunder built in. They don't have the built-in affinity, but they come with power prolonger, which is really nice for us, but most importantly, convert thunder resistance. This increases your weapon's elemental attack in relation to thunder resistance. So if you eat feast to give yourself extra resistance, you have the right armor set or whatever, you can get yourself a lot more thunder resistance and get a lot more value out of this weapon. But what is the Artian setup generally for element? It's this. You want to maximize your attack with a bit of element attached. So when you're crafting it, you're going all attack infusion, and you're not actually committing any reinforced bonuses to element boost because you only get 20 per upgrade, and I do hope they change that in the future. It would have a big impact. You know, Charge Blade is getting 50 per. So we stick with the raw because we get a lot more value out of that. When it comes to those decorations then, you're going to have one that's going to take up a 3 crit boost slot. Then you're going to have the element attack, in this case fire, with 1 level of critical element on the back of that. Then you got your sharpness management, which is 3 levels of razor sharp, and if you can get 1 level of handicraft on top, amazing. Meanwhile, with the Seregios dual blades, because it's slightly different, you have less slots, you have the 3 crit boost, and then the element, which is bolt in this case, and 1 level of razor sharp, which equates very similar, in fact, to 1 level handicraft. It doesn't really matter, get one or the other. For the dual blades then, we need to talk about the ideal talisman option. Rarity 8 talismans come with 1 offensive slot, which allows us to slot in 1 level of attack boost. With a talisman that has 3 attack boosts on it then, you're able to get up to 4, which is going to give you that beautiful percent increase on attack for the first time. This is a major increase for the roll. Then you're going to want an extra level of some relevant skill that you'd normally be putting into a 3 slot decoration slot on the armor. So in this case, I've got weakness exploit. But say adrenaline rush, that'll work great too because that's a 3 slot that you'd be giving up otherwise. You just try to achieve the same skill list. Obviously there are worse options you could go for, like getting razor sharp 3 here or a element attack at level 3. And then instead of having that offensive decoration in your weapon, you put attack boost in instead. It's just not as clean, and you don't get like an extra level handicraft on top. It's also possible that you might not have a rarity 8 that just works for this. You could have a rarity 7 or lower, and we've seen cases where you've got weakness exploit and a 3 slot on that, and they say 1 attack boost. This gives you a slot to put in at least one of the skills you care about, you get some attack boost from it. Basically, there's a lot of good options to make this work if you can switch things around and try to achieve the same skill list. Ultimately, 4 attack boost is better than 1 adrenaline rush if that's the trade you have to make, but if you have slightly less attack boost overall than me, it's not the end of the world, it's a long-term goal. Right, let's start with the 4 element set. So you'll run this if you're running fire, dragon, ice, or water. As you can see then, we have gore beta helm, Legiacris chest in beta, the seregios gloves in beta, the gore waist in beta, and the Legiacris boots in beta. Again, combined with that talisman I showed a second ago, the 3 attack boost with 1 offensive slot that has 1 attack boost in it, with 1 level of weakness exploit, or adrenaline rush, ideally, as a perfect talisman. We use this decoration list then to achieve this skill list. We got the 4 attack boost, 3 crit boost, the element attack, the razor sharp, and 1 level handicraft on top, and 1 critical element. Then for the armor stuff, we have the full weakness exploit, 3 adrenaline rush, 3 constitution, great for the stamina, the full counter strike and antivirus. We sneak in 1 bit of latent power, which is nice. We have the 1 burst, of course. It comes with 1 evade window, which is really nice, because with the buff in Title Update 2.5, this feels like having 2 evade window. And then we got stamina surge and 1 coalescence on top. So it's quite the hefty list. Again, you will not see us commit more to evade window with decorations or anything, because you can eat for that with the tumbler meal, which you should be doing. In regards to set bonuses then, you've got the 2 piece of gore, so we can work in the affinity from that and the whole antivirus stuff. We got the 2 piece of Legiacris for Azure Bolt and the affinity that provides. And we even have scale layering for the bit of the adrenaline. Let's take a look at the math then to see how this actually functions and competes. We have 225 base raw, and with attack 4 we get a 2% increase on that, bringing us to 229.5. Then we have the flat numbers from Counter-Strike 3, burst 1, adrenaline 3, and attack 4, bringing us to 290.5. Multiply that by the white sharpness, and that brings us to 383.46. We have 71% reliable affinity, thanks to the weakness exploit, antivirus, the base artian, Legiacris 2-piece with 40% assumed uptime, and the latent power 1 we have with assumed 50% uptime. So yeah, 71% reliable affinity, with 3 crit boost, which is normally a 34% damage increase for those crits, but 71% of the time, it's more like a reliable 24.14% damage increase. So we multiply that by our last number, and that brings us to 476 effective raw. For dual blades, that's great. But then you have all the bonus of the element there, and don't forget we have 1 level coalescence, which will just trigger now and then for a bit of extra element, and the bonus of 1 stamina surge, and maybe you have a better talisman than me, so you have even more 1 slots for maybe more constitution. So this feels absolutely fantastic. But now let's take a look at the specific set for Thunder, which is very, very powerful. As I was showing earlier, you're going to use the Legiacris dual blades with this one, thanks to the Convert Thunder Resistance skill this provides, taking your weapon's elemental attack and increases it in relation to said Thunder Resistance. So you're going to want a set that actually gives you Thunder Resistance. So in this case, we're decorating for it, we're wearing a nice set that gives us good Thunder Resistance. As you can see, we have 40 in the proper set. This then converts to a lot of extra element, meaning it wins over Artian. But naturally, we have to change the set to actually get the high Thunder Resistance. Though bear in mind, you're going to have extra Thunder Resistance from eating feasts as well. Anyway, just as a quick reminder I talked about earlier, these are the decorations I'm using in those dual blades, which obviously have less decoration slots. So we have the full Thunder attack, the 1 razor sharp, which could be handicraft either way, and then the 3 crit boost with the other 2 remaining slots. To achieve the proper set then for the skill list, but also the Thunder Resistance, we're using the Ray Gamma set for the helm, chest, and gloves, and then Legiacris 2-piece for the waist and legs. And again, it's the same talisman as before. 3 attack boost with the 1 offensive slot going to the 4th attack boost, and then 1 weakness exploit, or 1 adrenaline rush, all the other stuff we talked about in the talisman section. Just try to achieve the same skill list or as close to it as possible. So these are the decorations we use to achieve said skill list, which is full attack boost, the 3 crit boost, your relevant thunder attack. We get a random bit of power prolonger, which is nice from the weapon, the 1 razor sharp, which could be handicraft for you, and then the convert thunder resistance, all from the weapon. Then we have the full weakness exploit, 4 latent power in this case, counter strike, thunder resistance at 3, which is important as we said, a bit of random max might, a bit of random evade extender, and then you got the 1 adrenaline rush and burst, and even a bit of stamina surge, which is nice. This also provides you with at least the 2-piece of Thunderous Roar to increase the duration of latent power, and the 2-piece of Leviathan for Azure Bolt 1 for even more affinity and more thunder bonuses. This also gives us Lord Soul, Guts Tenacity, which is going to equate to 5% extra Roar, and a Death Dodge, before more defenses and losing that bonus if you do go down, so a very strong set bonus as before. Let's highlight the math to show how effective this is and why we're running it for Thunder. In this case then we have 220 base raw, increasing that by 7% thanks to Guts Tenacity and Attack 4, bringing us to 235.4. Then we get a lot of flat numbers from Counter-Strike 3, Adrenaline 1, Burst 1 and Attack 4, bringing us to 286.4. Multiply that by the white sharpness, and then we're at 378. Next we have our affinity, so we have 62% reliable affinity from the weakness exploit, the latent power 4 with the assumed 66% uptime, and the Gaiacris 2-piece with the 40% assumed uptime. We have 3 crit boost, which is 34% damage decrease on those crits, but since that's 62% of the time, it's more like an average of 21.08 damage increase. Multiply that by our last number, that brings us to 457.6824, which rounding up is 458 effective raw, which is very solid to say we're getting immense element value out of this as well. So looking at that, we have 250 base element, multiply that by 20% from element attack 3, bring us to 300. The flat numbers come from element attack 3 burst 1, and now convert thunder element and the thunder resist 3 to maximize the 40 thunder resistance we have, adding 160 there. So that brings us to 560 element, and if we debloat that, it's more like 56 as the true element. Multiply that by 15% from the white sharpness, and that is 64.4 effective element off the back of very respectable effective raw for dual blades. So it's obviously fantastic. With this current setup, you can see that it actually hits the cap of what we have right now, which is 600, aka 60 effective element. So we are fully hitting the cap with this set, capped element and super high effective raw. What a combo. Now, very quickly, just to finish the video off, you might be wondering what about Bubble Blight? Because if you were paying attention, that was actually changed and buffed in an interesting way. Looking at the 2-piece then of Mizu's set, you have Bubbly Dance 1, which now actually gives you minor Bubble Blight after evading a few times. So you evade like 3 times, you get Bubble Blight. This in combination with Coalescence then gives us a noticeable element boost. As you can see, Coalescence gives you increased element attack, power, and status effects after recovering from blights or abnormal status. So that combined with the Gore 2-piece of Cleansing Frenzy or Cleansing Bubble Blight, you have unbelievably good Coalescence uptime. The problem is that you're going to have to give up 2 set pieces for Mizu stuff, and ultimately it results in a lot less effective raw. And sure, you can actually reach higher effective element just below the cap or whatever, but it comes at too big of a cost for raw. So we're just highlighting it to show you we thought about it and looked at it, and just don't like the loss of the raw that it provides. If you yourself just want to play it anyway, here's the set. I'm just going to show it on screen. It again uses that Talisman we've been showing, the same attack boost concept, but it has 1 extra slot for a defensive slot where we can slot in the antivirus. And in this case, we have 1 level of agitator. Anyway, here are the decorations and the skill list if you want to replicate this yourself, just so you can see it. I won't run through the math in full, I'm just going to show it on screen. How it brings us to 379.5 effective raw before we do the affinity, which is 40% reliable. With 3 crit boost, it brings us to 431 effective raw with the set, which is a lot less than the other sets. On the other hand, we have the element. Based on an Artian dual blades that hasn't committed to element beyond just having the base version of it. It brings us to 51.2 true element, which when multiplied by a white sharpness brings us to 59 effective element. So yeah, it actually is like below the cap of what we're looking at with say the Thunder set, and then so much less effective raw, which is a shame because it's a fun concept. Maybe in the future it'll be possible. But yeah, there you have it. That is my overview of dual blades in Title Update 2.5. Another awesome buff for our evade window purposes, managing demon boost, the new focus strike options, on top of the talismans opening up new avenues of incredibly strong stuff. That combined of course with the Gaiacris dual blades makes for the ridiculously deadly thunder set we've shown today, but also for your other 4 elements, it's gonna be fantastic. All you need to do is remember to eat for tumbler meal, so you have the evade window to basically have 4 evade window without committing to it in decorations or any other way. Pretty fantastic. I hope you get great use out of this, but until next time, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.